2017. The living room of the therapist's father. Act 1, Scene 1.
They say you want to talk to me.
I wasn't going to come.
What for?
Don't you remember me anymore?
I can't have changed that much.
I remember you.
There are things a person cannot forget, no matter how much they want to.
Look. Have a good look. When they told me of your stroke, I felt a thorn stuck here. I had to get it out. Even though you could no longer speak, even though you could no longer listen to me.
I know you're listening to me.
I know it.
Some things you just know.
Scene 2.
This is not going to be easy. Well, nothing was easy with you.
But it's important. Once there was a girl. We'll call her the therapist. That's what her students called her when they saw her coming. The therapist is here.
The therapist is here.
When she was a little girl, the therapist dreamed of being a superhero, but not just any superhero. She wanted to be a smart and just superhero. Like Hart from the paper chase, the TV show. Do you remember it? The brave boy who stood up in the middle of the class, faced the teacher and argued. When she saw the movie In the Name of the Father, she said, I'm going to be like Emma Thompson. I'm going to stand in the middle of the room and get all the innocent people out of jail.
But television and movies are one thing, and being here is another. The first time she entered a prison, she threw up. It was ugly. Everyone, her colleagues, her boss, they all said, this isn't for women. She won't be able to endure it. She won't go back.
But she did go back. She always went back. And she sought out her boss and asked him for the most difficult cases, the ones nobody else wanted to take. And little by little, she became strong. Now she entered a prison and her stomach didn't turn anymore. Do you know what they said now?
Look at the doctora. Don't be afraid. She looks like a man, doesn't she?
When work got really hard, she did capoeira or yoga to lower her stress. And although she could have left her job many times, she never did. Do you know why? Because that's the way she is. Because she can. Because she endures.
Scene 3.
One day, the Ministry of Justice called her. An old colleague wanted to see her. He had a problem, a situation.
Doctora, we have a problem, a situation with inmates at the Naval Base prison. They keep fighting all day long. They're going crazy. The human rights people are applying pressure. You know how they are. I've been asked to do a project over there to prevent a tragedy. Doctora, do you think you can go in and do something?
Her stomach turned hard. She thought she was going to throw up. But she endured. She always endures.
A project?
Yes, anything. You do capoeira, right? Why don't you teach them capoeira?
Coronel, to do capoeira, you have to be young, strong, fit. The inmates at the base are older, aren't they? They could injure themselves, break something. It'll never work.
Then, the colonel looked at her.
She knew that look.
Girl, give me a break. Give me a hand with this. Throw me a bone, anything. Anything at all.
We could do a yoga workshop.
Yoga?
Yes. Yoga is gentle. Anyone can do it. They teach yoga in prisons in the United States.
If they do it there, we can do it here too, right? Although nobody enters the prison.
So don't worry, Doctora. You prepare a good project, and I will get you in.
The therapist stopped for an instant in the doorway of the ministry. She could not believe what had just happened. She, out of all the people in the world, was going to be allowed to enter a place that no one enters, to see the men that no one sees, the inmates of the naval base prison. She was going to meet the enemy, evil, and she was going to look it straight in the eye. In the eyes of the 5 historic leaders of the shining path in the MRTA. And one of her students was going to be Abimael Guzmán.
Scene 4. Don't look at me like that. She couldn't say no. It was an extraordinary opportunity. Who wouldn't have wanted to be in her place?
But that night on her way home, the therapist began to remember when she wasn't so strong, so tough, so manly. When she was 9 years old and what she liked most were blackouts.
You know why? Because every time the lights go out, she joins her brother and her mom in the kitchen to play crazy eights, slapjack, Chinese checkers, chutes and ladders. That's why she loves blackouts. Because she doesn't feel alone in the darkness. There, she has a family. And every time the lights come back, she crosses her fingers and hopes that it will go out again.
Until she hears him arrive. The enemy. Evil. She knows she has 3 minutes from the time the car turns to a corner until he opens the door of the room.
She can guess his mood by the way he puts down his briefcase, by the rhythm of his footsteps, the tone of his voice. Sometimes he's calm, affectionate, and he asks her to give him a kiss, because she has to kiss him every day of the year, and they're only up to 152. But sometimes he's upset. And when he's upset, he yells. When he yells, the universe splits in 2. Come here! I said come here. Let me see your grades. What's that scrap, huh? Don't you realize that you won't get anywhere like that? You're not going anywhere with that face. What? Oh, no, don't give me that face. Come here. Close the door.
Then you make your stomach hard, so you don't throw up. Well, see, he does what he does to you so you'll learn. And what's breaking your face and ass is for your own good.
Why did you look at me like that? Didn't you say you wanted to talk with me?
Well, we're talking, aren't we? Scene 5.
That same night, the therapist got to work. First, she read the report by the Medical Commission of the Naval Base Prison. The conditions of confinement, strictly closed regime, almost without activities, almost without visits, 2 by 2 cells, a bed, a table, a chair, a patio, and nothing more. Then she reviewed the psychiatric evaluation.
What the colonel said was right. The inmates suffered from psychotic disorders, paranoias, and symptoms of post-traumatic stress, anxiety and depression, low self-esteem, irritability, sleep disturbance, loss of appetite, difficulty concentrating, and attention deficits, severe depression, and suicidal thoughts.
Have you ever been inside a prison? She has, many times. Time is a very efficient jailer, the best. Do you know why? A free man has a past and a future. He has memories, hope. An inmate with a 20-30 year sentence does not. All he has is the present, a long and frightening present. That's why the spirit of an inmate is so easy to break.
That's why those men were going crazy. Because those who invented the prison knew what they were doing. They knew how to make the punishment hurt more. Do you know what the inmates call the naval base prison? Nemesis. Like the Greek goddess of retribution.
She called the project Workshop of diverse activities focused on yoga for people deprived of liberty in the maximum security detention center at the naval base of Callao. Objective: to enable the inmates to develop their physical and mental strengths in a joint manner that permits them to achieve a better quality of life. Legal basis: Political Constitution of Peru. Supreme Decree 015/2003, Chapter 1, Article 11, and Legislative Decree 654, Title 3, Article 16. Every inmate has the right to his well-being, access to health services, water, hygiene, nutrition, his defense, and an education that permits him to rehabilitate himself and rejoin society. Proposed activities:
Yoga exercises and meditation to enable the inmates to connect with themselves. Frequency:
1 class weekly.
duration,
12 weeks.
equipment,
5 yoga mats, 5 pairs of cotton pants,
5 white cotton polo t-shirts.
5 polar fleece quilts.
5 towels, 5 herbal eye pillows.
1 yoga and Tai Chi DVD and 1 CD of relaxing music.
beneficiary population, Miguel Rincón Rincón, Peter Cárdenas Schultz, Víctor Polay Campos, Oscar Ramírez Durant, and Abimael Guzmán.
What? What do you want to say? That the therapist was out of her mind? That she was irresponsible? How was she going to teach yoga to them? That all they deserve is for someone to put a gun to their heads and pull the trigger. A bullet in the head and so much bullshit is over.
No, the therapist was not crazy, and she wasn't in the least bit irresponsible. She was just doing her job, the one that no one else wanted to do.
Scene 6.
The Coronel kept his promise. He got the project approved quickly and gave her 1 month to prepare. There was a lot to do: buy clothes, equipment, read basic yoga, yoga insomnia and stress, meditation for beginners, watch documentaries of yoga in prison. Did you know that meditation is practiced in prisons in India and in the United States? It's called Vipassana meditation. You meditate for 10 days in silence, all day long, and your mind transforms. In one prison in Seattle, the recidivism rate fell by 20%. The inmates reduced their levels of hostility, depression, and anxiety. They said they felt optimistic.
Do you know what Vipassana means? To see things as they really are. She wanted that, to look without fear, to take a good look.
She prepared a file for each of her students. She didn't know much about them except for Victor and Abimael. She didn't want to know them especially either. The less she knew, the better. But her students needed to learn a routine they could practice when the workshop ended. She needed to know their ailments, their physical condition, their medical history in order to not harm them or cause them any injury.
She had a look at their files, to see things as they really are, to look without fear, to take a good look.
Scene 7.
And soon, she's 12 years old. She's about to finish elementary school, and her teacher approaches her in the middle of the class. "They're coming to get you. Collect your things." She gets her backpack and walks to the exit. Her father is outside, in the car, and he's crying.
She has never seen him cry. The terrorists have kidnapped your grandpa! Her stomach gets hard. I hope I don't throw up. She wanted to cry with him, hug him, give him a kiss today to calm him so he would smile. But what if it upset him? Better not to. On the way home, they passed by the IBM building.
Look, take a good look. In order to survive in this country, you have to be strong. And she looks. That is her first memory of the war. A windowless building like the black skeleton of a dinosaur. And at her father, looking at everything from the car window. And she's looking at him with all the fear in the world.
That night, she asks God to make the terrorists let Grandpa go soon. Very soon. But the terrorist asked for a lot of money, and since father needs time to get the money, the terrorist cut off Grandpa's ear and mailed it to her father in a plastic bag. And so the father goes crazy and screams, and they're a bunch of fucking bastards!
How is it possible that no one has the balls to put a pistol to his head and pull the trigger? Because that's what would have to be done. A bullet to the head and so much bullshit is over. Until one day, her father got the money and the terrorists let her grandpa go. And everyone is very happy. And there is a party. And she goes with her father, her mother, and her brother. And her father says once again, look, take a good look. And she sees Grandpa Julio, skinny, pale, and disfigured, and her father happily smiling like never before. And she likes that so much that she gives him 2 kisses in the cheek and recites a poem she wrote for the end of school.
The terrorist. The terrorist is there and here. He cannot live without fear. With potent weapons, he shoots at the innocent. The terrorist is a criminal. He behaves like an animal. He thinks he should rule, but he's a fool. He likes to destroy, cause suffering, and nothing else. Miguel, Peter, Oscar, Victor, Abimael.
Scene 8.
That's when the nightmares began. She would wake up in the middle of the night, screaming with an enormous weight, like an elephant's foot.
Her mom suggested taking sleeping pills. Pills! She doesn't take pills. Because she can. Because she endures. Mountain pose. Arms to the sky.
The therapist breathes in, raises her arms, hands together, exhales and lowers her hands to her feet, chest to her thighs.
But when I practiced, I couldn't stop thinking. Why did I open my big mouth? Capoeira? No. But yoga? Yeah!
The therapist throws her right foot back, left foot between her hands.
What is with you? You're a lawyer, not a yoga instructor.
Chaturanga.
The therapist throws her left foot back. Her body forms a straight line and she does a plank.
You just started practicing, and now you're going to start teaching? Upward-facing dog.
The therapist projects her chest upward, her lower belly barely touching the floor.
And what the fuck are you going to say to these guys? Concentrate on your inner body, Miguel. Bring attention to your breath, Oscar. Focus your mind on the present moment, Peter. Inhale, touch the sky with your hands and you get closer to the universe, Abimael. You get closer to the universe, Abimael. There are words that don't belong in the same sentence. Downward facing dog.
The therapist raises her hips up, forming a mountain with her body.
She needed to talk to someone who would listen to her, not judge her and not open their mouth. Table pose.
The therapist brings her right leg forward, foot between her hands.
Why didn't she talk with her yoga teacher? She could help her, right? She must know something, that's why she's a yoga teacher.
The therapist raises her arms again, bringing her palms together in front of her chest at the level of her heart, and bows slightly.
Teacher, do you have a moment?
Of course, dear.
Look, what's happening is they've asked me to give a yoga workshop in the prison, and
Seriously? That's beautiful, dear. You are so fortunate. The universe has given you an incredible opportunity.
Look, teacher, I can't sleep, and I need you to advise me because my students, they've done terrible things.
Dear, the line that separates you from those prisoners is thinner than you think.
oh, yeah.
Of course. Haven't you ever wanted to steal something that wasn't yours? Haven't you ever hurt someone who hurt you?
But teacher, these guys are different.
No, dear, no. We are all equal. We are all potential criminals, prisoners of our emotions, hostages of our own mind. We all have good and evil within us. We are all part of the same dream.
Teacher, my students are Miguel, Oscar, Peter, Victor, and Abimael. That's who they are.
Now, tell me, what can I do? Tell me, how can I...
The teacher didn't say anything. She stood still. She shut up. Then the therapist took advantage of it and told her everything. Her blue nights, the elephant's foot that wouldn't let her sleep, her nightmares.
In her dreams, she runs and runs. Suddenly, she turns around, and there he is, the enemy, the evil one. She wants to keep running, but she stumbles and falls, and the enemy gets closer. And now she can see its face, and the enemy is everyone. Her father, her mother, her brother, her grandpa, the colonel, everyone. And everyone says just one word, traitor. They repeat, traitor, traitor, again and again. And she wants to ask them to stop. Tell them she's afraid that the universe has started to break in half, but her throat is dry like the bark of a burnt tree, when suddenly the teacher yells at her,
Shut up!
and in her gaze, she sees fire, she sees anger, she sees rage. And she knows that look.
A bullet in the head and so much nonsense is over. Right?
And then she covers her mouth, like she's afraid of herself. And she leaves.
It's difficult to help someone, especially when the enemy is here.
Scene 9.
She was going to be the first woman they would see in a long time, so she decided to be feminized as much as possible. She put on her lucky leggings, her cotton polo shirt, and a very loose sweater, so no one can see anything. The car arrived at 7. The chauffeur took the beach route, and from there to Callao. The trip took an hour and a half. The chauffeur did not say a word. Neither did she. In these situations, it's better not to speak. You need silence and time to enter and exit the inferno. Do you know where the naval base is? There, where the Rimac River ends. The first door is the biggest. First control. They verify everything there. You must sign in and pass to door number 2. Second control. Verify again. Sign again. Leave your ID. They check your photo. You advance. Get into the armored car, please. Your passage is authorized, but if you do not obey, we have orders to fire. Okay. You cross the minefield. 200 meters of swamp and dozens of soldiers armed to the gills. 80 acres in just 20 minutes. You arrive at the double war of the penitentiary, tall and thick like life, covered in razor and barbed wire, and you ask yourself, is it just me or is everyone afraid of these inmates? First door, review, no man's land. Second door, review. Enter through the gate on the right diagonal. Cross the 4-meter hall. Do not look to either side. Do not look in those doors with circular glass. Never look into the cells.
Okay.
Inside are the commander of the base and the director of the penitentiary. All very amiable, all very distant, all very good morning. Pass, thank you. But you realize they know why you've come and they do not want you there. The commander of the base calls you. Doctora. None of the interns know your name. It's for your safety. They only know a therapist is coming to teach them yoga. Nothing more.
Your legs start to shake.
I hope they don't notice.
You nod, make your face strong, your stomach hard, and continue walking to the large patio. Above, turrets and soldiers with ski masks watching. Below, in the middle of the patio, your students.
4 shadows appear.
The commander introduces you.
She's a therapist who's going to come and give you yoga classes. They are her students. They've been waiting for you since early this morning. You feel his eyes on you, his curiosity, his lack of confidence. Now your hands shake.
Don't let them notice. Don't let them notice.
Peter, how's it going? Victor, how are you? Miguel, good afternoon. Oscar, how are you doing? You are as professional as possible. You do not offer them your hand. You do not want to touch them. Could you have? Perhaps.
You ask the commander to distribute the clothes you brought. You want to see them clean, dignified. Male inmates always walk around with atrocious stains, in flip-flops and old polos, and these men are no exception. Hell, it makes you want to put them in the shower. You see them relax a bit. They get happy with your shower of clothes.
A fifth shadow emerges. And suddenly you recognize him by the beard and tortoise-rimmed glasses, looking at you from an adjoining patio behind a fence, watering his plants, bent over and chubby, the enemy, evil, Abimael.
Make your stomach hard.
Don't let him notice that you could lose it.
Hold it.
She's a therapist who's going to come and give you yoga classes.
I will not be able to take your class because of my health. His voice is low. His Arequipenian accent is thick.
We can do a special breathing routine for you, if you want.
Thanks, but no. But I would like to watch your class. Is that possible?
Sure. And he turns and leaves. And this is your first day.
The shadows disappear. Scene 10.
That night, the therapist didn't want to listen to the voices in her head. She wanted to feel calm, regain control.
She started practicing when she was in high school. One of her bodyguards took her. After Grandpa Julio's kidnapping, her father was afraid and hired bodyguards. Even she had one, Edwin.
Miss, capoeira is very intense, but I think you'll like it. She didn't even round 2 seconds in her first rota. A kick in the middle of the face knocked her down. She felt so much rage. Her master quadrupled it. Where is your defense and your center? How many times I've told you, bend your knees?
She wanted to be quick, strong, but they knocked her down again and again.
Miss, when I go into a fight, I always look him in the eye. That way you'll know what he's going to do, how to hit him. And when you know what to do, don't hesitate then. Hit and push hard, like a man. As if you have someone in front of you whose face you want to break.
As if he could break his face at last. And then she looked her opponent in the eye and suddenly knew what to do, and then hit and pushed.
And from then on, she won. She rests, dries her sweat.
Do you know how many kilos of force a capoeira kick is? 816. More than karate and Muay Thai combined. When she found that out, she was glad. Maybe one day she could be that strong. Maybe one day she could even kill.
Scene 11.
From then on, that was her routine. 7 in the morning, Operation Defeminization.
Polo.
Leggings,
Sweater,
car,
beach,
Gagao, door 1, door 2, control.
photo check, advance.
first door, second door.
The therapist is here.
The
therapist is here.
2 guards in front, 2 behind. Soldiers in the turrets, on the walls, on the roofs. The world had become very warlike. And it's only 10 in the morning, and you keep walking until you reach the large patio, and there they are.
The 5 shadows reappear.
Victor, Oscar, Miguel, Peter, with their new uniforms waiting. Abimael behind the fence, waiting. Your legs and hands betray you once again. I hope they don't notice. Good morning.
Good
morning.
How are you? Here, teacher. Waiting for you.
Yoga comes from India. Yoga means union of the body, mind, and spirit. By practicing yoga, one can improve one's health, calm the mind, and open the heart and consciousness to true freedom. Any questions? No? Good. Let's start by doing a breathing sequence. Breathing in yoga is always the most important thing. Heels and feet touch, arms on the sides, hands under your chin, elbows down, shoulders away from your ears. Inhale, bring your elbows up, and exhale, opening the mouth. Elbows come together, look back. Once again, we inhale, shoulders down, elbows rise, exhale, mouth open, we look back.
They follow her directions on everything, without contradicting her, and without ever taking their eyes off her.
Very good. Let's start with a sequence of postures. The first is called the half moon pose. Ankles and feet touch, arms up, fingers interlock. Fingers stretched out, thumbs crossed, hands like a pistol. We stretch and bend our bodies to the right, engage the navel, lowering the shoulders.
The therapist does the half moon pose to the right. She corrects them without personalizing their mistakes, without touching them. She never touched them.
Now to the left.
The therapist does the half moon pose to the left. Suddenly, she hesitates. At some point, they stop looking at her. They start to concentrate, to sweat. Look without fear. Look well.
Peter is the youngest of the three. He's in good physical condition and seems very interested in learning, and he's the most talkative. At the end of every class, he always tells you how he feels, and he always feels better.
Miguel is the nerd of the group. He does all the poses to the max, frowning, questioning everything, wanting to do everything perfectly.
Victor is the least connected with his body. He has a hard time doing the poses. He's a little overweight. At first, he just watched her in silence. Later, he started to complain. And then, he never stopped complaining.
Oscar has a leg disability. He has a hard time doing the poses, but he never complains. And he's always upset, as if he hated the world, hated yoga, hated everything.
Abimael couldn't go out on the patio with the others, so she does her class in front of his fence, so he can watch. Sometimes he looks at her. Sometimes she looks at him. The shadows disappear.
Suddenly, she's 13. She doesn't remember what movie was playing, just that there were few people. The lights go out and the projection starts. And suddenly, someone yells, "They've planted a bomb! Everyone, get out!" And she stays frozen. She doesn't know what to do. Her father looks at her. "What are you doing, sitting there?"
Run! She starts to run, fast, to the car, to the street. Someone yells again, "Calm down, you have time. If you exit slowly, nothing is going to happen to you." She wants to know who is this man who's yelling, and how does he know nothing is going to happen to them? But her throat is dry, like the bark of a burned tree. And she keeps running, and gets to the car, and climbs in, and her father starts it, and she looks at him and her mother and asks, "What's happening?" And then, the sound of an explosion.
Father and mother turn, and she does too. And they see the movie theater burning in flames, and her whole body trembles, and she can't endure it. And she feels the heat go down between her legs, and she sees the seat stained, and him looking at her.
And she wants him not to look at her like that and forgive her for going in the car, to hug her and tell her that everything is going to be all right. But he doesn't do that. He just turns without looking at her, without looking at anyone, without looking at her anymore.
The shadows reappear.
Namaste. Shadows disappear. Scene 13.
First report on the workshop of various activities focused on yoga. In the first classes, they have performed breathing exercises and basic poses. One inmate has a disability, for which a special routine will be prepared. Another inmate has requested information about Tai Chi. Some have a greater capacity than others, but they all participate, show respect, and follow instructions. Everyone is eager to learn.
Determination.
Calm. Beach.
Door 1, door 2, control.
Photo check. First door, second door.
The therapist is here.
The therapist is here.
Guards in front, behind. Walk straight. Don't look.
I won't look.
And you walk and walk until the big patio, and there they are. The shadows reappear.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Here. Waiting for you. Let's begin. Standing bow pose. Heels and feet touch. Right palm up. We take the right foot on the inside. Left arm up. We let ourselves fall forward.
That day, Peter told her that Miguel got up at 6 in the morning to practice, but not to connect with himself, only to do the poses better than the others. And by the way, impressive.
Miguel's enthusiasm motivated Peter to practice, because he was not going to be left behind.
If he can do it, so can I. And then Victor joined in.
If they can do it, so can I. But because he never exercised, his poses didn't come out, and he was very frustrated.
Even Oscar began to compete. He wanted to do everything the others did, but he couldn't because of his leg. Oscar loses his balance and falls.
Until one day, he didn't come anymore. One day, he no longer came out of his cell.
One of the shadows disappears.
It's not about doing the perfect pose, or about doing it better than anyone else. It's about entering the poses with humility and concentrating on the breath, nothing more. Nothing. All yoga classes are like this. Everyone wants to do the poses better than the others, impress the teacher. Even she was like that.
Her class was the same as any other class. Her students were the same as any others, equal to her, equal to any human being.
The shadows vanish. That afternoon, an officer approached. Doctora, the inmates are calmer. They don't fight as much among themselves. They complain less. They even brush their teeth. She thought the officer was joking, but no. He did not take his eyes from her. He knew that look.
Have you gone mad? Do you have shit for brains? Have you already forgotten who those guys are? Have you already forgotten about Grandpa Julio, about everything they did to him? What are you doing here? Lightening the sentence, opening the heart, freeing the conscious. What were you thinking, traitor? This place is a spa. This is a prison. And a prison takes your freedom. It does not give it back.
But of course, what can we expect from you? If while the country was bleeding to death, you lived in another planet, with your parties, with your boyfriend, with your capoeira. How easy it is to play superhero in peacetime.
Let me tell you one thing, therapist. If your little students are alive, it's only because no one has the balls to put a pistol to their head and pull the trigger. Because that's what should be done. A bullet to the head and so much bullshit is over!
Scene 14.
Second report on workshop of various activities focused on yoga. The inmates are happy. They have begun to memorize the sequence of poses. Their bodies are quite closed and stiff. They are not accustomed to moving. There is much work to do.
Defeminization. Callao. Door 1, door 2, ID, check. Armored car, 20 minutes. The therapist is here.
The therapist is here.
Diagonal grating.
Guards in front.
Behind, fence, wall, patio.
Then.
The shadows reappear.
One day, due to a paperwork error, the therapist arrives 45 minutes late. Only 3 students waiting for her on the patio. Oscar has already stopped coming, and Abimael has not leaned on his fence.
Sorry for the delay.
Why did it take you so long? How could you possibly arrive so late? We wait for you all week. Who do you think you are to make us wait?
Forgive me, Victor. It won't happen again, okay? Let's begin. Hands under the chin. We lower our elbows. We inhale.
I'm not going to continue taking your class. You can't do yoga in a place that smells fishy.
As you wish, Victor. We raise our elbows, chin parallel to the floor. We exhale.
So why do they check you so much at the door? To stop you from sneaking in cell phones? So what's the problem with coming and taking some pictures? Or getting internet in here? I don't even know what the internet is. I don't even know how a cell phone works.
Victor, please. We carry the weight.
And why do we do yoga from India? We should do yoga from Peru. What's going on is trying to kill us. Huh? That's it. They want to poison us with the air, kill us with the food. I don't want to go on. I will not go on.
Suddenly, Abimael starts to yell that he has rights and how can they possibly treat him like this. He hits the fence with a stick again and again and again and again.
As if he could break his face.
Down, dog, everyone! Hands to feet! To feet, I said. Stretch your arms. Stretch them! Downward facing dog. Now, you're going to do what I tell you. Push the ground with your hands. With your hands, I said. That's how you push the ground, huh? Don't do that or that. Don't collapse in the middle. Push! Obey!
Obey!
You won't get anywhere with that attitude. You won't get anywhere with that stomach. You won't get anywhere with those legs. Don't look at me. Upward facing dog! Is that up, animal? Up, I said!
Don't look at me, dog!
What were you thinking to look at me like that? Dog on a hanging pole, black-headed dog, killer dog, fire dog!
That day, the therapist leaves without saying goodbye. She leaves them a packet of readings and a video on meditation for them to review as homework.
The shadows disappear.
Sometimes the therapist doesn't like her job. Honestly, sometimes she hates it.
Scene 15.
She would have liked to tell the Coronel she was suspending the workshop, that she was going away and was not coming back. But she couldn't quit her job because she was strong. A superhero who does what nobody wants to do. Because she can. Because she endures. Because she
is 16 years old. And her father is sitting on her bed, shaking her. Where's your brother?
What?
Where's your brother, damn it?
I don't know.
He's nowhere to be found.
What?
He didn't tell you anything?
No.
Don't lie to me.
No!
We're going to go look for him. You stay here.
Everyone leaves. The father, the mother, and the bodyguards. Now there are more bodyguards than ever. Grandpa Julio has died, and father has inherited the company and is now an important man. An illustrious member of the government that has won the war, that has eradicated the evil forces, the subversives, that rebuilds the country and looks to the future without looking back.
Brother. Her little brother. Where could he have gone? She knows what no one else knows. That they had hurt him at school. That he's dying of fear that father will find out. And that last night, he couldn't sleep. Suddenly she has a hunch. She runs to the park around the corner, where they take the dog, where they go on Sundays. And there he is.
Curled up under a cement bench like a little bird with a broken wing who is afraid to see her and riddles her with questions.
How did you know I was here? Is Dad upset?
Where is he?
What did he say?
I don't know. Yeah, a little. He's gone out looking for you. Nothing. Then she takes him by the hand and walks alongside him as slowly as she can. How she wishes she never had to come. She wishes she could tell him that what he has to do. Tighten his stomach and endure, that the pain always passes. But she's ashamed.
Better not.
Mother receives them crying.
And Father? And when she watches them walk away to the room where Father will grind her brother with belts, she does the only thing she knows how to do every time the universe breaks in two. مرده بودم زنده شدم گریه بودم خنده شدم دولت عشق آمد و من دولت پاینده شدم. But that night she couldn't sleep, but not from sadness or emotion, from pure vertigo, because now the world had changed.
The courage of the smallest one has opened a pathway. Because now she knows that freedom exists, somewhere far away, but it exists. Because if her brother could be free for an instant, so could she, when she was strong.
One day.
What? What are you trying to tell me? You didn't know that? How could you know if you had no idea about anything?
Scene 16.
Feminization.
Callao.
Door 1, 2 ID. Check.
On the car.
20 minutes.
The therapist is here.
Guards in front.
Back.
Fence.
Wall.
Patio.
Them.
The shadows reappear.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Here, waiting for you.
We watched the documentary you left us, that one where the prisoners meditate 10 days in a row without talking to anyone.
We've been here for more than 10 years without talking to anyone either. We feel very advanced in Vipassana and meditation.
The therapist smiles.
That morning, they do the entire sequence of poses, from the pranayama breathing to Kapalabhati. You see them calm, relaxed.
Even the soldiers in the turrets are watching the class.
The workshop has become quite an event.
We're going to do the last pose. It's called the corpse pose, or Shavasana, the most difficult pose. We lay on our backs, close our eyes, and breathe easy. If thoughts come, we simply let them go. That's the most difficult.
The therapist lays a blanket on the floor like she's covering someone's body.
You cover them with blankets you bought. It's winter and Shavasana always lowers the blood pressure. Then you look at them, with their heads turned to the side, like babies wanting for someone to come and engulf them, to reward them for having done well in class. Like men whom no one has touched in over 20 years.
Do you know what you think when you see them like this? How easy it would be to kill them. Because you can kill. You already learned how.
The therapist slowly stands up on the blanket, like she were pulling her foot on the throat of one of the inmates.
And suddenly, one of them opens their eyes.
You
know
know
this look. You've seen it, that time.
What was that fight about? I don't remember anymore. Why was I late? Why had I cut my hair short, like a man? For the 18th time, I hadn't entered the university. Why? I don't know. What I do remember is that I'm 18 years old and you are telling me to my face that I'm useless. And from now on, what difference does it make what I do or stop doing? Because what more can you expect from a woman who now looks like a man? And I cannot take it anymore. I come close to you. I have 816 kilos of force in each of my legs. And all I can think is that I hate you, and I'm going to kill you. Because there's nothing in the world as powerful as hate. Hate that inspires, strengthens, opens doors like a river. And from the mountains, the river comes down, the wind comes down, the town comes down, entire towns come down. And with them comes punishment, the inevitable fire, the necessary fruitful violence, the will of man, the hope, the future that doesn't exist, the future that is created, imagined, and invented.
And before I do something to you, you step back, afraid of me, and you go. And I can't believe it. I am stronger than you.
I walk to my room. My thoughts are racing a mile a minute. I look out the window. The tree in the garden, how it's growing. And suddenly, I know what I have to do. I've known it all my life. I don't lock the door. I know you're not going to come for me. Not that night. Not ever.
A change of clothes for summer and another for winter. A pair of sneakers and sandals for running and walking. No more is needed in life. I don't have any money, but at the moment, that doesn't matter. It's early morning and I have to go. I say goodbye to everything. To my brother and his little bird expression that I sometimes miss seeing.
How I wish I could take him with me, but I can barely take myself. To my mother, who sleeps with all the sadness that I will one day understand. And to you, sleeping. And suddenly you open your eyes and look at me. The same as then, the same as now. Like you're waiting for me to come and give you a case for one for each day of the year. Remember?
Never.
But not anymore. Never again.
I peep out the window. The bodyguards are asleep. I hang on the tree and drop down. I walk to the gate, climb the fence, get to the street and then the avenue, and I start to walk and walk and walk, and the world is blue and it's perfect.
At that moment, I don't know how hard the world is going to be with me.
Or that Mum is going to leave you soon, with my brother in hand. Or that she'll tell me that I gave her strength. Because if I could leave, so could she. At this moment, I don't know any of that. All I know is that life is full of promises, and that it's mine, at last.
You can't remember all of this, because you were sleeping, but I was already awake. What's happening? Are you crying, Papa? Are you crying over me?
Scene 17.
Workshop of various activities focused on yoga. Final report. The students show improved health and mood. They are very interested in renewing the workshop and have expressed sadness that it is ending.
The shadows of a man can be seen again. The therapist takes out her purse and takes some things from inside.
Peter liked painting very much. He gave me a painting that I've kept so far. See you later, Peter.
Miguel was into salsa.
He gave me a CD that I've never heard before.
Teacher, could you come back and teach a Tai Chi or a Kung Fu workshop? I think better not. Miguel is liable to go and hit the gods. I'll suggest it.
Victor gave me his blessing. He had become very religious lately.
May God bless you too, Victor. Oscar apologized for having left the workshop.
I'm not used to doing these things. Don't worry, Oscar. It's okay. It's not easy to help a man, especially when the enemy is here.
Abimael approached his fence. Although I haven't participated actively, I appreciate everything you've done here.
You're welcome.
Can I ask you something? Could you do this workshop at Chorrillo's Women's Maximum Security Prison? My wife is there.
At Chorrillos, the inmates have lots of activities. It's here that you're lacking things to do, that's why I came.
But could you try to?
I will suggest it.
Thank you.
I extended my hand to him. He reciprocated. The shadows of the men disappear. She stays looking at her hand.
Before I went, I left them 5 packs of incense, glycerin soap, CDs of relaxing nature music, and the books Laughter Therapy, Chakras, Concepts, and Breakthroughs, and Harmony for the Body, Mind, and Spirit.
I prepared a set for the military too, so they could read in their free time. At the door, one of the guards approached.
Doctora, those exercises you did were very interesting. Couldn't you do a workshop for us?
I will suggest it.
The following week, I turned in the workshop satisfaction survey to the coronel.
Do you consider that the workshop improved your physical condition?
Yes,
quite a lot.
I found that I have muscles and bones that didn't work, and now they do. It allows us to use different parts of our body.
Do you consider that the workshop was well administered?
Yes, well administered.
Everyone was able to adapt to their internal body.
It was quite educational.
Do you consider it useful to continue the workshop?
Yes. We have yet to improve, perfect, learn other sequences.
Yes, because someone comes from outside.
Do you have any final comments?
Yes. The workshop should be renewed. Thank you very much from the heart. Hugs and kisses.
The coronel was pleased.
I think it was a good idea to call you.
Coronel, we could repeat the workshop for the inmates and extend it to the personnel on the base.
We have more urgent problems at the moment. I'll look into it though.
The request was not successful.
Scene 18.
I don't know what I came for, or why I told you all of this. But maybe I do. I think I wanted you to know what I did, and that you heard it from me. For you to know that when I saw them, when I really saw them, they didn't scare me anymore. And it's not that I've forgotten what they did. Not a day goes by that I don't remember. Because this tightness in my chest, this elephant's foot, is gone. Now I'm free, as you want me to be. And without this thorn stuck here. Yes, I think that's what I came for.
Remember what the yoga teacher said?
That we're all part of the same dream?
In mine, you look free and calm, and everything around you is the color of dawn.
The most beautiful color in the world.
Are you smiling, Papa? That's good. I know you were listening to me. I knew you were.
Some things you just know. Morde Buddha, Zende Shodan, Gerye Buddha, Khande Shodan, Dolate Esh Omad, Vamandolate Poyande.